Hey, what is up, everybody? Jeremy here, and I'm really stoked to be hanging out with a cool guest today in the new studio. We got it set up. Can you guys believe it? I know we've kind of been all over the place in the last couple of weeks, and we're going to be chatting with somebody that I really find to be a really intriguing and cool human being, and he's really helping people to build relationships online the right way. Let me tell you, a lot of us suck at that, so we really need this guy's help. Welcome to the Create Your Own Life show, Mark Firth.
Thank you, Jeremy. It's fantastic to be here. I'm feeling left out with that studio now. I've got like fake wallpaper, brick wall stuff here, so maybe I need to get a screen.
Hey, man. Well, so it's interesting. We've gone through a couple different iterations of this. This is the third camera. I had two different DSLRs that I just didn't like. And this is like a 4K webcam that I'm like thrilled with. So I'm like, okay, we'll go with it, right?
Don't get me started, but I want to know what that is at the end. I'm running this off the camera.
It's called a Logitech Brio 4K.
Oh,
and
nice.
It's like less than $200, and it like saves my life. But if you're on Mac, you need an app with it called webcam settings, or the white balance is way off.
Yeah. I've experienced that with mine. Anyway, let's not go down that rabbit hole.
Anyway, so Mark, you have a very interesting story. You know, starting in the UK. Which I went to university in the UK, by the way.
Yeah, I saw.
So you started in the UK and you ended up in Colombia and decided, you know what, I'm not going to leave, and you had to figure things out. So tell us a little bit about that story before we talk about, building relationships today, man.
Yeah, and by the way, I know you studied English literature at the University of Oxford, and we'll come on to that later because that actually feeds nicely into building relationships. But sorry, the question is, where did I start?
Tell us about that story, how you started in the UK, and ended up in Colombia, had to figure some things out, and somehow ended up online.
All right. So I'm speaking to you all today from Bogota, Colombia. I would turn the camera if the camera was good enough. That's another conversation. But anyway, like many people, I wanted to find success in my life. And let me be clear, because success is an ambiguous term. Yeah. I define success as having the freedom to do what I want, with who I want, when I want, if I want, and that's usually family. Sorry to all my friends. I'm a family guy and close friends. Went to corporate, started at IBM, Siemens, and I went there because I wanted to create an impact. I wanted to make money, and I wanted to find that all-elusive freedom. My God. I found the exact opposite, like 80-hour weeks. I was literally a wage slave.
That corporate life, man, like they want more out of you, and they don't actually pay you more for it, which is the crazy part.
It's not. And I was sold the dream, the nice brochures when I was at university, the happy people. Yeah. When I got to the age of 30, a decade ago, actually, I was like, I can't do this for the rest of my life. And I decided it was time to throw in the towel and look for a new direction, and not knowing what the hell I wanted to do. I did what most people do in that situation, went traveling and hoped things would figure itself out. Ended up in Colombia. Was supposed to be here 6 months. It's now been a decade. Wife, 2 kids, business, and this. That's how I ended up here. And I was here, and I met a girl, and the girl became pregnant. Had to figure out a way to stay here. And I'm in love with Paolo. I'm in love with my kids, and the loophole that allowed me to stay here was starting an online business. So I went back to what I always knew, which was B2B selling, and which has also become B2C, but it's all about LinkedIn for me at the moment, and other social media platforms. But beyond LinkedIn, as you said, Jeremy, it's about building relationships. Yeah. It's about connecting with other human beings.
Well, you know what I love about that, Mark? First of all, like South America is one of my favorite places to visit. I lived in Peru for a few months. It's just, and it's, the lifestyle is different. Yeah. Life's a little slower. You actually stop and enjoy things, which is cool. But I like as well that you mentioned, because this is a really big reason that we've built the company we've built, is, you can work from anywhere, and you can be with family and do a lot of different things. So it puts you in control of what you're doing. Yeah. So you've spent a lot of your time, teaching people how to build better relationships. And I'm curious for you, why did you focus on that? And what did you learn that made you so good at this?
Well, it all happened by accident, because what happened, as I just mentioned, I started focusing back on building on the business when I was here in Colombia. Paula told me she was pregnant, and at that time I didn't have a visa. And the only way I could get a visa and spend time with my son was from starting this business, servicing clients outside of Colombia. So I went back to research what I always knew about LinkedIn online, and there was this thing called automation. And it doesn't really matter if you know what automation is or not. It's just kind of a euphemism, a metaphor for spamming the hell out of people, cut and paste messaging.
That's how I launched this podcast, by the way, 5 years ago. I didn't know what automation was, so I copied and pasted the same message, 1,500 times on LinkedIn. So I feel you.
But this was in 2017. I got some success, but then as we came into 2018, it was dire. Like my son Sam had arrived, didn't have any money. We couldn't send him to the right schools, and it just wasn't a good situation. So one day I just thought, I'm just going to send everyone a message, a personalized message. I'm going to ask them why they don't reply to the automated messages that I was sending.
That can be rough.
It was rough, but I needed to hear it. And,
sure.
and the reply, I got loads of replies. It was kind of like, this is the same as every other message you get every day, i.e. I'm not standing out, or I don't need what you're selling. In other words, I created the wrong feeling. And by the way, as an aside, why do people buy? Because they feel like it.
Mm-hmm.
End of, right? And if people feel the wrong way, you're done. Good night, Vienna. No coming back. First impressions ruined. And the third one is I can't take you seriously. And that kind of hurt because I want to be taken seriously, just like probably people, to a degree. But anyway, so I decided to just start building relationships. It doesn't take long, just by really understanding people's backgrounds, really understanding their interests, really understanding who they are, what they do, just like I knew about you before I came on here, because you wouldn't go on an interview with someone like you and not know what they've done in the past. So
you'd be surprised though, the number of people that do that. And that's why I think podcasting itself and even connecting with people on LinkedIn, they're powerful networking tools if you learn to understand people. But it shocks me the number of people that don't take the time to do that.
It still shocks me because we're growing like crazy. And I'm like, why is the demand for what we teach? But then I realize it's the simplicity. It works. It's not based on some tactic or spammy message that you cut and paste. It's about a respect for another human being. It's about the psychological fundamentals, reciprocity, authority. Mm-hmm. Like going on a podcast is the same as starting a relationship online with someone that might become a client. You need a relationship. It is old. Is the principle, know, like, and trust is as old as time. But a lot of people want to kind of ignore it. But yeah, to go back, you get me off on one of my rants. We've been doing this
I'm rather good at that, by the way.
Hundreds of clients, generated millions of dollars, all from building relationships and doing it very quickly, taking an hour a day. And I feel passionate about this. I'm kind of the anti guy when it comes to a lot of stuff online, and I'll stand my ground with anyone in a conversation,
So how do we do that the right way then, Mark? Right? Because like you mentioned, automation may not be the best way, but in order to make things work, you do have to take, a significant amount of effort, right? Like it's not going to be easy. You can't just throw it out there. So how do we build relationships on LinkedIn specifically the right way? Like how do we do that?
Well, it can be easy. That's the thing. It can be very easy once you understand the fundamentals and the psychology bit behind it. All it's about is let me just give a quick difference between demographic targeting and psychographic targeting, because a lot of people online, they tend to target people demographically, especially on LinkedIn, where they live, job title, how long they've been in it. But that doesn't actually tell us anything about a person. What we want to do is target psychographically. We want to look for ways to understand their interests, who they like. We want to know what they are focusing on. Tony Robbins says where focus goes, energy goes. And we can very easily look for people that are exhibiting behaviors consistent with wanting to buy. We can very quickly look for people who are focusing on things that we can help them with. We can very easily find people who are worth talking to and maybe even problem aware and looking for a solution. That's all we got to do. So, and the best thing I could get advice beyond that I can give people is engage with empathy, engage with energy, and engage with effectiveness. Mm-hmm. That's it. If you can do those three things and build that relationship, everything takes care of itself. And don't overthink. Just have the right intention as well. Do you know what I mean?
No, I do. I do, because I feel like so many messages come in, and like the feeling I get from them is like, you say hi to somebody and they're like, so you want to get married? Like it kind of like jumps to that level. Like it's like going on a first date with somebody. Like, so kids tomorrow, like how would that be? Like, but I feel like a lot of people come in at that from that perspective. So I hear what you're saying, connecting with people with empathy, really caring. But at the same extent, Mark, like how do we do that at scale? Because I feel like at the same time, the difficulty can be like you're finite, right? You can only do so much and connect with so many people. So how do you do that and continue to grow?
That's a nice lead in, because we actually
I've done this a time or two, man.
We're fine. We are finite. That's why we actually have a section of what we teach called 2 times you. And this actually happened Because originally, I was doing it manually. And then one of my clients worked with me, and he's an expert in managing virtual assistants. That's his background. And together, working with my clients, who's amazing, shout out to Randy, we put together a segment of the program where we show people how to outsource this process, this personalized process. Because a lot of people, you're right, the first thing people have to do is they have to have a process that's working. Because if you haven't got a process that's working, what can you tangibly outsource and hand over? It's very difficult. You can't outsource.
That is a major barrier to so many business owners, is they try to find somebody to do something for them, but they don't even know how to do it.
Yeah, you've got to have your positioning dialed in. You've got to have market message match. You've got to understand the problem point. You've got to understand, what they want versus what they need. You've got to understand the psychographic, all that kind of stuff, right? We haven't got time to go into that today. Once it's working, which is usually 4 to 5 weeks, you can then outsource it to a virtual assistant at relatively low cost. We're talking $5, $10 an hour, $15 an hour if you want to do it in the States. It really depends. We show people to do it, but we teach them how to have the conversations. And then all people do is jump on when the conversation is qualified, because I don't know about you, I quite like my time. The idea that time is money is completely false. Time is far more important than money, because we can't get more of it, but money always replenishes, right? So I want to get that outsourced as quickly as possible and just deal with conversations that are advanced, going to calls. So yeah, that's how we scale it. And do you know what? Some people want to scale to 100 grand, 150 grand a month, and that's all good. We've been there, done that. Some people just want 20 grand a month, 20, 30 grand a month, and a nice lifestyle business. I'm not judging on either of them, but you can do it both with the VA, depending on your offer and your product or service.
So I guess from that standpoint, we talked about connecting with somebody as a person. We talked about, how you scale with a team. But I guess the thing I'm really interested in, Mark, and I think it's something a lot of people are missing. How do we stand out then? How do we stand out from the hundreds of messages that come in, or the hundreds of communications people receive? Because I open LinkedIn every morning and I have 100 messages from people I don't know yet. How do we be the person that they're going to remember?
Jeremy, the answer was in your question. How do we stand out from the hundreds of messages we get every day that are all the same? It's easy. We just make an effort. We just make an effort to build a relationship. 99.9% of people online do not even make that effort. You said that yourself. People come, which is crazy to me, on an interview with you without even knowing your background. That is the reality we're dealing with online. I don't know whether it's because people don't know. I don't know whether it's because people don't want to know. I don't know whether it's because it's self-sabotage or fear of success. But really, those who want to transform their life and want to, create change for their family, their kids, and buy back the rest of their life, it's worth learning, because it's not difficult to stand out online. It's a myth that it is, because there's 100. Just look at your inbox for all the evidence you need. And what Jeremy said, it's not difficult. It's really not difficult. All you need is a process and a system, which we do, and just plug it in.
So I guess, like, looking at that, where do you see online connecting in the next, let's say, year going? Because I think if we go any more than a year, it's so hard to predict that. But how do you see the online space changing, let's say, in the next 12 months?
So I have a really alternative view on this whenever anyone asks me, because there's levels of teaching, right? At the most basic, there's tactical. A tactical way of teaching would be cut and paste this message. Right? The strategic teaching is the next level up. Why we do it and when we do it. So when do we send that message, and why do we send that specific message? The third level up, where I like to operate at, is really the fundamentals and tenets of psychology of human beings, because that tells us why people respond the way they do, why human beings operate, what pulls the levers and connects the neurons, right? As an example, reciprocity. If we do something for somebody else, they're more likely to do something for us. Authority, Cialdini talks about in this book. If we're perceived to be in a position of authority, then we are likely to be taken seriously. Social proof, people buy from people, and people live vicariously through others, right? These are a level up from tactics. They're a level up from strategy. They're how human beings are hardwired. So I don't personally think about the online space like that. I just think about dealing with human beings, and I just wave the ride of what's the easiest way to do it, given the year, given the week, given the month. And right now, given the amount of information on LinkedIn, and I can find out, where you went studied, what you've done for the last years, who's done your recommendations, voluntary activity, languages spoken. There's no better depository of information available online to start a conversation naturally, to have a reason for that conversation. So right now I'm on LinkedIn. How will it change in the future? I don't know, but human beings aren't changing anytime soon, and we just need to look at the news to understand that. Does that make sense?
No, it does, and it kind of goes hand in hand with something I'm talking about so often, right? Like you hear digital marketers talking about, oh my gosh, this feature on Facebook changed, or oh my gosh, this feature on Clubhouse changed. And when you're built on tactics, you're just going from tactic to tactic to tactic. Like you have to be built on a long-term strategy, like you're saying. And you really have to be built on fundamentals. If you look at people that are the best at what they do, right? They get the fundamentals so well down, they don't have to think, they just do them. And I think that is the difference.
It is. And I also want to caveat by saying, you will see some of my marketing and I talk about features, because something else that we have to do, and here's the inception bit, right? We have to talk about fundamentals, but one of the fundamentals is human beings, they want new opportunities. They want something new versus something old. And so we have to market to what people want. So we have to market with the tactics. We have to market with the new opportunity like Clubhouse. And we do that to bring people into our world. And then we help them understand that they need the fundamentals. Does that make sense?
No, it does. You have to come to people where they're at, right? Like
you
can't tell a potential prospect, this is the way you need to receive my message, because it's not going to, right? You have to come to them where they at and where they can receive it.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah.
I feel like that was a mic drop moment for you, Mark, but I don't want you to drop that beautiful mic. So we'll just leave that there in the audio for people. Well, I guess then if we're talking about the idea of legacy, right? Like the impact you want to make and what you're leaving behind, tell us what that looks like for you, Mark. Well,
look, I had a difficult time when, as I mentioned earlier, when I left the job, because I'm from a family that's not entrepreneurial. I was kind of set up for the college, job, retirement. I've changed my life. I've made the rest of life the best of my life. We're moving countries. We've got kids at the good schools I could never afford. It's not about me. It's about my kids, right?
Yeah.
I want to change, and it's not about me, even when it comes to clients. I want to change people's lives, just like I've been able to change my own life. And that's why I get out of bed every day. So yeah, that's all it is about for me, is just changing lives and giving people the opportunity to change, the education to change. And that's what it will always be about for me.
Absolutely. Well, Mark, this has been awesome. For people listening, if they want to connect with you, if they want to learn more about what you're doing, where's going to be the best place for them to go?
Getmarkshelp.com. And I previously had a very difficult to spell URL, so I thank Jeremy for that. And by the way, if you're listening, this company is awesome. It's just little tips like that. Do you know what I mean? And they help you with.
I love that, because you have to think about your listeners in audio, man, and they got to find you. So getmarkshelp.com. Our guest today has been Mark Firth. Mark, thank you so much for hanging out with me today, man.
Thank you. Really enjoyed, Jeremy.